Thanks to medical and scientific advances, people today are living longer than ever. Research shows that those who have meaning in their life will enjoy longer, healthier, and happier lives. But how does someone discover their purpose, their true passion? Luckily, Coming of Age has been inspiring people to live with passion and purpose for almost 2 decades. Coming of Age was created in 2002 at Temple University in Philadelphia by the Intergenerational Center. Coming of Age has been helping communities around the country offer programs like Explore Your Future to people age 50 and older. In 2010, PSS spearheaded efforts to launch Coming of Age here in New York City. The other 4 initial partners included Community Service Society, RSVP, JASA, SAGE, and the Transition Network. In 2015, PSS took over the management of the national program, and Coming of Age has continued to grow and evolve over the years. Today, it is building a more engaged community by offering educational events and activities on a weekly basis. Our goal at Coming of Age is to create a space where mature adults can explore all of their options and to learn about resources and opportunities so that they, too, can live a life of passion and purpose. Coming of Age's Impact Award was created to recognize those who have demonstrated leadership in positive aging and who share this important vision, which is why the work of our very first honoree is so important, Betsy Werley. As the Director of Network Expansion at Encore.org, Betsy has become a major influencer in the Encore movement, making later life a time of opportunity and contribution. In truth, Betsy has been a powerful example of civic engagement for many years, embracing volunteerism and important causes her entire life. For much of her earlier career, Betsy had been a corporate lawyer and a business executive at a number of major corporations. She also served as a longtime board member and president of the Financial Women's Association, and in 2002 she launched a mentoring program for women at Baruch College. In 2005, Betsy made the major move to the nonprofit sector as the first executive director for the Transition Network, the national organization for professional women in transition. Under her able leadership, the Transition Network grew from 1 chapter to 12. Betsy's own Encore transition was profiled in Mark Friedman's book, The Big Shift, and Carrie Hannon's What's Next. As a result, Betsy became a recognized role model and spokesperson, often the subject of media interviews and speaking engagements at positive aging gatherings across the country. Betsy joined Encore.org in 2013 as an Innovation Fellow, where she was responsible for expanding connections between Encore and programs around the world. 4 years later, Betsy became its Director of Network Expansion, her focus now on connecting leaders and organizations so they would see older adults as a resource. In 2017, Betsy received Baruch's Community Partner Award. And tonight we are privileged to honor Betsy Werley with the very first Impact Award, Coming of Age's new recognition for leadership in positive aging.
Good evening. My name is Pam Ramsden. I'm manager of Coming of Age. And I am so excited that we have this first ever Impact Award for leadership in positive aging. I would like to invite Marci Alboher, Vice President of Strategic Communications at Encore, and Susan Collins, the Executive Director of the Transition Network, to present the award to Betsy.
I'm sorry for having written it down, but I thought it was too important to leave it to the brain in this esteemed environment. My name is Susan Collins. I'm the second executive director of the Transition Network. Back in the late 1990s, 2 women in New York had the brilliant idea that women in their 50s and beyond who were leaving their long-time careers were embarking on a stage of life that had no real models for guidance. They thought that bringing these women together to learn from each other would be a worthwhile endeavor. After this first initial brilliant idea, they had a second one. They hired Betsy Werley. As TTN's first executive director, Betsy put TT on the map, literally. The chapters outside of New York City were born in 2006, the year after she took the helm, and we've been growing ever since. Today we have 3,000 active members in 14 chapters around the country. TTN's mission is to connect women so that they can discover their impact. When you ask people who know Betsy or have worked with her to describe her, you hear the same refrain. Persevering, innovative, strategic thinker, hardworking, dedicated, inclusive, visionary. One would expect to hear these adjectives when describing an effective leader, but there are other words that people use to describe Betsy that really get to the heart of who she is. Gracious, sincere, generous, optimistic, loyal, respectful. I think any of us would want to be remembered for these qualities. If you've encountered Betsy in any of one of her roles, attorney, mentor, executive director, network organizer, human being, you probably experienced her amazing skill at making connections. Her boundless memory for people and their stories is legendary. Betsy would be able to connect you to someone's second cousin's best friend if she thought there was some benefit for you to do so. This speaks to her ability to deeply listen to you, to who you are and what's important to you, and then store it away for a time when she can make that connection that would help you further your particular interests. Even after Betsy left the Transition Network and for a while lived life without a name tag, she continued, and to this day continues to champion our mission. She never fails to mention TTN in her work as Encore's Director of Network Expansion, and for that, all of us at TTN are exceedingly grateful. I never imagined the size of the shoes I was stepping into when I became TTN's second executive director, but now, understanding the complexity of managing and growing a national nonprofit, and looking ahead to our 20th anniversary next year, I'm grateful for the example that she set for me as I aspire to live up to the legacy that is Betsy Werley.
I'm going to add a few words here, and I have to say, everything that Susan said resonated with me because she really captured the essence of what is Betsy. I will say that I've known Betsy in many different contexts over about a decade. Like Mark Friedman and Carrie Hannon, who profiled Betsy in their book, I used to be a journalist, and Betsy was like this go-to person you went to if you wanted to talk to somebody who had transitioned from the for-profit sector to the nonprofit sector. But she was also the person who is now inspiring and counseling hundreds of other people to do the same thing and coaching them informally along the way. So she became this, as we said in the field, a source to me. She's a person I went to time and time again because not only did she tell her own story and connect me to other people, she knew everything I needed to know about that space and, as Susan said, would make introductions. And she does this to this day to all the people that are, she's constantly, we share an office, so I see her on the phone all day, making those connections. Writing everything down in her little notebook in her perfect handwriting. There are ways that she remembers all of these details. So over time, I got to be a colleague of Betsy, and really throughout that time, she became a mentor to me, coaching me into this new field that I was getting into, the field of aging and empowering older adults as assets in society. But really, she became a friend. I got to know Bob and the rest of her entire fan club. I got to know the people from all the corners of her life. But really, it took years before I saw all the things that Betsy never talks about, which are all the many roles she plays out in the world. The roles in her family, the roles as a mentor. That mentoring program that Betsy created at Baruch, and where she still mentors to this day, was something none of us at Encore even knew about when she was honored. The last time I stood up as part of the Betsy Honoree Fan Club. So the modesty that Betsy carries in all of this work is kind of legendary. So I'm just proud to be your friend and to be your colleague and to be part of this extended Betsy Werley fan club, and you've had an enormous impact in the world and in my own life.
Well, thank you to the PSS team and to Marci and Susan for that unique multimedia introduction. And thank you to my family who are here, to many friends and colleagues who are here tonight. I also want to congratulate Dr. Ruth Finkelstein and Kevin Nelson of Aetna Better Health. Your work is really making an impact in New York. And I'm also really proud to join the long list of PSS honorees. All of you have seen that in the program, and for longtime New Yorkers, you know that there's some of the real leaders in aging in New York City are on that list. And one thing I observed is that most of the people on the list are people who've had a whole career in the field of aging. I, on the other hand, as you saw, am a relative newcomer to the field. Just 15 years ago, I was at Chase Manhattan Bank, totally unaware of this mega trend called longer lives. Then happily, I decided to take a severance package and set out into the nonprofit world. I interviewed to become the first executive director of the Transition Network. And so you heard a lot about that organization. Their founders were energetic and visionary, but I have to say I walked away from that interview saying, am I really going to go from Chase Manhattan Bank to being employee number 2 in this startup? Fortunately, it was not a hard decision, because as I walked around and said to people, there's this organization for us, women over 50, every woman over the age of 40 said, take the job and call me, because I need this organization. So that really was my window into the power and the potential of our work with longer lives. And that was back in 2005. And for some of us in the audience, that in 2005, the first baby boomers were just turning 60. So a lot has happened since then. During the intervening years, I've had the privilege of working with many in this room to build the Transition Network, great table of Transition Network leaders over here, to launch Coming of Age in New York City and really reach out to a wider community, and to connect through the Encore network. And for all of you that I've worked with over these years, I truly admire your commitment to older adults, to making our longer lives a time of opportunity, and giving us the chance to make a contribution to our communities. I'm looking at my RSVP colleagues over there doing great work. And I would say we've come a long way, even in the short 14 years that I've been part of this positive aging movement. So fast forward to 2019, this is a milestone year. This is the first year where there are more people over 60 than under 18 in the United States. Yes. So that means that our work on caregiving, on policy and advocacy, on all dimensions of positive aging is more needed than ever. So let's embrace this new reality, this more old than young reality. And the good news is that all of us can contribute, whether we're the professionals in the audience or the civilians, whether we're the 20 and 30-somethings who are with us tonight, or the older folks. All of us can make our longer lives a benefit, both for us as individuals and for our communities. So in closing, let me say to my many colleagues in the audience, keep up the great work. And to the younger folks in the audience and the newcomers, the next generation of newcomers, join us. You'll be glad you did. Thank you very much.